It's interesting that you're an artist and into politics at the same time. Usually the artists avoid that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I joke that it all happened as an accident, but that's, country music. I started writing and didn't really realize that it could be a career and just ended up pursuing it. And then you end up on tour and suddenly you look around and you go, oh, I'm doing this full time. That's fun. And then the political thing happened because it was just at a really heightened time. It was in, kind of the range from 2018 to 2020.
Mm.
And I was in college from 2016 anyway. It was business and political science. Was going to a private Christian university and kind of thought that that would protect me from, some of the things that were going on in universities. And that wasn't the case. I was spare, long story short, I was given an F in a political class just by a teacher that didn't like me or what I believed. And I wasn't even that vocal. It was just clear that I wasn't being indoctrinated.
Wow.
And so between that and having to fight that and going through that process and wanting to help other people that I knew were also probably going through that with that process. And then also that music was very left-leaning. We were encouraged to either be silent or to endorse, the other candidate. And I was even told at one point, you need to take the American flag out of your Instagram bio.
Wow.
Like things that trivial. And I work a lot with veterans organizations. I was told that, you need to dial that back a little bit. And so for the American flag, the flag under which we all live in this country, and veterans causes, which should not be partisan, and they are very close to my heart. My grandfather served in the Korean War. And I have a lot of family in the military. It means a lot to me. The sacrifice is huge, and I recognize that. It just wasn't an option. So I ended up leaning into it instead of stepping away from it as a country artist.
Well done. Yeah, similar story for me. I grew up in Jersey and kind of avoided politics my whole life. But then when I got to Rutgers, college, I was like, wow, this is really liberal. I don't know how they're teaching this to everyone, and just didn't vibe with me,
Yeah.
And now looking at all these universities, I think 90% of them are liberal.
Yeah.
Something like that. Same with the music industry.
Yeah.
So it's damn, we're really a minority out here.
It's true. It's true. And country music is, people think it's the safe haven of conservatism, and it's only marginally better than pop. It's still the same labels. It's still the same, kind of grandfathered in executives. So you don't get a lot of reprieve. You at least get the audience with you, which is, I think, the big part and why I'm so passionate about connecting directly with the audience, because that's ultimately who goes, yes, I like your patriotism, and I will still read your papers and watch your show and listen to your music.
Respect. Yeah, it's tough being independent though, right? Without a label.
Sometimes, but with social media and with some of the connectivity that's happened in the past few years, as you can probably understand too, you have a relationship directly with people who consume your media instead of having to go through a middleman or being told when you can release music. If something happens, you're inspired, you write a song about it, hypothetically, you can just put that out. You don't have to ask anyone. Whereas a label, if you say something that they don't like or do something that they don't like, depending on who's in management in that label, they can shut you down. They can shelve you and ultimately control what you put out. So
that's true.
It's tough being independent, but it's also, there's freedom in it as well.
Yeah, you got to kind of pick if you want freedom or if you want to be signed to someone, be told. Similar with podcasts, actually.
Really?
Yeah, so you start a podcast wanting freedom, I think, but then you get to a certain point where you start signing to organizations, and then you kind of lose that freedom.
Interesting.
Over time. So I would say it's a little similar, but music industry is definitely more controlling, I'd say.
Yeah.
I had Mike Posner on, and he said he got shelved for 3 years. He couldn't drop any songs.
Poor guy.
3 years.
That's crazy.
And all you want to do is create music, right?
Yeah.
Put it out there.
Especially with his journey or what I've heard of it. I can imagine. That's hard.
And you hear a lot of horror stories with labels.
Yeah.
So something needs to change.
It's bad.
Especially in the rap industry. I don't know about country, but...
like I said, country is a little bit of a safe haven in some ways, but from the label executive side, you're still going to the same exact labels. So you're still getting some of that LA influx. You're still getting executives that have been there for years upon years upon years. And, it's when you're unwilling to compromise with what you're saying and what you're representing, and then you're also unwilling to compromise, especially just got to say it, as a female in the music industry, you go into rooms that you feel as though you would be farther if you did things that were expected from you. And you can feel it. and you don't make those sacrifices, you don't bend the knee, you stay true to who you are, and you can definitely sense it interpersonally as well. And it's fascinating, especially when it's not even on the table. It's just very interesting to feel the dynamic in that way.
I bet. Do you incorporate a lot of political stuff into your music?
I do some. I do very just pro-America, pro-patriotism. I have a song called Stand that's honoring veterans. I have a song called Country Back that basically just said, especially last year, I want my country back. And that was a thing all throughout campaign season. And so the rest of my music is regular country music, but where I can tie in, pro values, pro patriotism, really just pro music that you can listen to in the car with your kids. I feel like even country radio starts to get a little dicey, which is fine. But it was always something that you could just throw on and feel good about. And so I'd like to keep that.
Nice. Country Back. I bet that one crushed when Biden was president.
You know what? It was hard because people were so passionate about it. And I felt bad because I was right there with them. But there was an element that was really fun to go in crowds. I was touring with Aaron Lewis last year. I'm touring again with Aaron this year. And I wonder, that tour starts this weekend, and I wonder how different it's going to be singing it this weekend versus the tour last year.
Yeah, I wonder if people will be as passionate about it, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Any crazy tour stories? You've probably been all over the country. Maybe, I know you've lived in some other countries too.
Yeah, you've been all over, and the U.S. is still my favorite. Now, I was born in Massachusetts, didn't live there very long, moved to England and then Switzerland. My dad's job took us all over. Back to the States, straight to Arkansas again for his job. And then California for a brief minute. My grandparents lived there, and then Tennessee. So just kind of all over the place. And then with tour, it's fun because you get to see the little towns in between the big cities. You get to see really what America's made of. And not that I needed a change in my perspective, and I wouldn't even call it a change, but it just really enlightens you to see the small main streets that have shut down because of economic choices, how coal towns work and how the general stores didn't pay people in money, but paid them in store credit worked when those shut down. You kind of hear these stories from the underbelly of America, and it gives you a whole new perspective on what matters and how all that needs to be fixed, really.
That's important, right? Because they call DC a bubble.
Yeah,
they're making all these laws, but they're not on the streets like you are, witnessing what daily people are going through, right?
Yeah.
So that's really important perspective. You had a clash with Moms Demand Action. What happened with that?
So with Moms Demand Action, I feel like who hasn't had a little bit of a clash with Moms Demand Action in the 2A space? I work a lot in Second Amendment advocacy, and I'm on the NRA board, and just honored to work on all of that stuff with them. Moms Demand Action just they have so much money from Bloomberg, by the 100 million. And so they just send their people everywhere. And it's not to take away from the original thought of people who wanted to protect their kids, but it's not that. It's funded by big companies that just don't want Second Amendment to stay uninfringed, honestly.
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode.